Good morning, Bellows Falls, and welcome to the feed. It's Mike and Marty. Today we're here with Mike Cancellieri and Jen Sell-Knapp from Frontline Foundations. We're going to be talking about their program, how to get, what they do and how they do it, and how do you get there. But first, Marty's got local events.
Yeah, so at the Bellows Falls Opera House this week is the sci-fi movie Dune. So Mike will be there. I will not, but Mike will.
I will be there.
That runs October 22nd through the 26th, and then October 29th through November 2nd. Classic movie tonight is The Fountainhead, which is sponsored by Green Mountain Traffic Control. And next week is The Birds, a Alfred Hitchcock classic, and that's sponsored by JP Trucking. So coming up, there's another chamber event, the 6th annual Chowder and Chili Cook-Off. So yes, they're doing it again this year. Hopefully it'll be as successful as the Flannel Festival was. It's a co-sponsor with BFDDA, which is Bellows Falls Downtown Development Alliance, Greater Falls Regional Chamber of Commerce, and the Flatiron Co-op. So you can still register your chili or your chowder through the 23rd, which I think is Friday. Is that Friday or Saturday?
Saturday.
That's $10 to register your chili, and then if you come to the event, which is on Saturday, the 30th of October, it's only $5, and that gives you a little ticket, and you can go around and sample all the chilies and the chowders. And the past years that they've done it, it's been a really fun event.
Fun. Do you think they'll do a Halloween-themed chili because it's the 30th?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good idea, because it is later this year than they've normally done it. I think that you should take that on as a challenge, Mr. Smith. Since your wife is a blue ribbon winner in the pie contest from the Flannel Festival. Congratulations to Sue Smith for that.
This has been a big week in the Smith
It's been a big week in the Smith household.
Yes, I got to test all the pies, so that was great. And then she won second place, so that was really good. And then Marty's being shy and modest, but the feed has been published in a professional journal. The
How not to do television? No, just kidding.
The Vermont Journal of Archaeology has mentioned the feed as it's included in the lead article this month about a connected community. And it was with the PhD archaeologist Chris Bergman, remember Bob Haas and Jesse Haas, and the Westminster mapping project they did. Well, part of that turned into the Cellar Hole Investigators, which was on Fact TV, and then but the precursor to that was those people all came on the feed, and
right.
So the shows on the feed are actually as part of the source material for this article that they did. So it's pretty cool.
We do try to connect community. I was just saying we do try to connect community.
We do.
Which is kind of what we're doing today.
What is what we're doing today? One thing, and I know Mike was probably going to be there, but the Gillfeather Turnip Festival is this weekend. So, you know, that's one of those things that if you're going to be in Vermont and you're going to be in southern Vermont, Wardsboro, Vermont has the Gillfeather Turnip Festival every year. And this year it's from 11 to 1 in Wardsboro. Gillfeather turnips, I don't know if you know this, are the Vermont state vegetable. So if you're going to connect community, you have to know your turnips. All right, but on to a serious note.
Can I quote you on that?
That's another
quotable quote from Mike Smith.
If you don't know your turnips, you don't know your community.
You don't know your community, exactly.
I want that on a T-shirt if I can. Who do we talk to about that?
So, Mike and Jen, welcome. Tell us, what is Frontline Foundation and what do you guys do? And I guess where you came from. I don't know what. Right. I mean, that's a big topic, but
sure.
Sure. So, Frontline Foundations is an outpatient mental health clinic. We work with police officers, firefighters, EMS personnel, and military personnel who are struggling to deal with the effects of doing their job. Sometimes that involves something called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Sometimes it's figuring out skills that can help them better manage the jobs they're doing every day.
So basically, part of the dangers of doing that work is the work. It's not necessarily, and the ancillary effects of family and pressure and the things that you see, as opposed to maybe getting shot or
Oh, absolutely.
getting burned. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things, we talk a lot in the program about how the mind and the body respond to trauma and stress, and one of the things that I like to point out is that it's like that slow burn of having to constantly be prepared. That's one thing that kind of does a little bit of damage. It's not just, you know, as a police officer getting into a physical confrontation or as a firefighter running into a burning building. These are all things that, you know, predictably are stressful. But it's a lot of it is like sitting there waiting for a call, getting information, getting incomplete information, and then having the reality of the call that you arrive at be completely different. And those are the things that the mind and the body has a hard time processing.
Especially over long periods of time.
But because it's because you're constantly in your fight or flight mode. You
Yeah.
never, which is not where your body wants to be. Your body wants to do that quickly and then recover from it, but there's not recovery. So do you help teach the skills to shut that mechanism off, or to help shut that mechanism off? Is that part of what you do?
We do, absolutely, and we talk a lot about that. And several of our groups are specifically focused on different breathing techniques and exercises, different relaxation techniques and exercises that you can use in that moment when you're feeling activated in some way. It helps remind your body it's okay to calm down and slow down, even just for a little bit, which can be not something that our clients' bodies are used to doing, and can feel really uncomfortable.
So it's like almost, I don't want to, the comparison it might be long-term unhealthy eating or something. You know, it's the same sort of, one day isn't going to make a difference, but when you're doing it day after day after
Yep.
day after day after day,
Exactly.
and for a career even,
Right.
yeah.
And it's a practice. They're all practices. We talk about that a lot.
So
need
you
to practice it
you brought
regularly.
some statistics. Exactly how big is this problem? Is this issue? You know, I don't.
Yeah, so across, when we're looking at rates of post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a specific diagnosis, generally in the population, almost 7% of people have a PTSD diagnosis at some point.
That's the general population.
General population.
That's everybody.
Yep, yeah,
Wow.
across
That's
the
a lot.
country. When we look at, I'm looking down at my numbers here, when we look at veterans, that number for PTSD is up to almost 13%. Firefighters is 22%.
Holy cow.
EMS workers is 34%, and police officers, they gauge between 12 and 35%
Oh.
have a PTSD diagnosis.
Yeah, so you're talking 1 in 3,
Yes.
basically, for those 3 big areas, which
Right.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, don't often think of healthcare workers, but that's, as soon as you said it, it was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, has COVID, I mean, the stats might not be out, but has COVID had an effect in that area, like, as well?
I don't know about the specific rates of PTSD, but I do know, just anecdotally and talking with our clients, everybody's stress level is just so much higher than it was before COVID. Increased hours, increased stress, having to wear all the extra gear. It's absolutely having an impact.
So on your website, it says you are client-centered, trauma-focused, and peer-supported. Can you break that down for us? And for the audience too?
layman who doesn't
For the
know.
layman, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Sure, let me take a couple of them and then I'll throw the last one to Jen. Client-centered simply means that we tailor what we do to the client's individual needs. So yes, we have a program and it's a standard, set of groups that we go through. But the way we discuss certain topics, the different practices that we might emphasize one more than another, that's all tailored to our individual clients' needs. Peer-supported in that little group of 3 things means that a big part of our program is actually the camaraderie that is natural when we get police officers and firefighters and veterans and EMS personnel together. These are all groups that may, in the back of their minds, be saying, "Well, I got it bad, but not as bad as someone else in a different profession." And one of the very, I guess, healing things that we see is when you have all these different professions together, and they realize that they're sort of dealing with the same thing. And the group, Jen runs a wonderful psychotherapy group called Joining Forces, and that's the reason we call it Joining Forces. So that's the peer supported part. It's very, it's actually like a really heartwarming thing to see. Like someone that attended our program this year was from Florida and actually was able to stay locally with another person that had been through our program. And that's real peer support.
Real peer, yeah,
Yeah,
that
right
is.
there.
Yeah,
And so
that's great.
I'll leave it to you for the trauma discussion, Jay.
So we consider ourselves a trauma-informed program, and what that means, it's a couple different things. One is we're sensitive to the types of language that we use with people. It's really having an awareness and sensitivity to the impact that these traumatic events that our clients have dealt with are having on their bodies and their brains, their family, everybody who loves them. And some of that is how we place the chairs, and so no one's back is to the door, kind of seemingly simple
Interesting.
things like that,
Yeah.
to how we talk about trauma when it does come up. We're not a program where we expect people to come in and share all of their hardest things and talk in a lot of detail about things they may have experienced. It's not actually helpful in our setting. So my job is partly to help everybody manage how to talk about that in a way that's safe for everybody.
Interesting, because that's is that, I would guess that's not the norm. Is I think a lot of times it's face your trauma and work. So that's an interesting approach. Is that unique to your
It's
program, or?
It's unique with programs that are truly trauma informed or trauma sensitive. A lot of our clients, I would say the majority, although I can't say that for sure, are new to getting mental health treatment. It's completely new. And there is often an expectation that they are going to come in and have to share all these hard stories. And it's often a shock when people find out, no, you don't have to do that. There are these other ways. We talk about what's going on in your body and all these different things.
Interesting. That seems like that's an important point for people to understand, because I think inherent in those professions is, and maybe culture is changing, but inherent in those professions is kind of like suck it up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about when Michael said, I have it bad, but he has it worse. Is sort of this modest stoicism that, I have to be strong and I have to do this, and people have it worse than me.
Sure.
Does that produce two questions I would have is that, do you see that as a culture across these
Sure.
things? And second, how does that create barriers to you guys?
Sure. Well, the number one barrier is, what do you mean I need help? I'm doing just fine. And what does it mean? Jen and I also have our own personal experience. I worked in an inpatient psychiatric setting for many years where violence was an everyday thing. And of course, Jen was a firefighter. So we have some idea of how this stuff can impact people. One of the things I really try to communicate to our clients is you're just talking about the everyday difficulties that we all share. Some of us have a hard time in a grocery store when it becomes very crowded. In a restaurant with your back to the door, as we discussed. So these are normal things for someone that's been a firefighter or a medic or a veteran. These are normal things. One thing I really like to communicate is that these are common symptoms. You are not uniquely in need of help or in need of sympathy or whatever we're all worried about. That's... I had something else intelligent to say about that, but it escapes me.
Yeah, it's one of those common problems, Do you? I know you guys take some unique approaches to getting people out too, and I know that when people think about therapy, they're thinking that you're either going to be laying on a couch or you're going to be in a room where you're sharing things. But you guys do it differently, don't you?
We do a combination. So part of it is meeting with a therapist individually each week doing psychotherapy group every day, other groups, but then we also do recreation therapy, which maybe you can speak to.
Yeah, so recreation therapy is a big part of our program, and that's just getting our clients outdoors whenever possible, but getting them in the swing of doing something that is intended to be fun. Sometimes, we take our clients on a hike and it rains and it turns out to be a little bit of a slog.
Like, oh yeah, this is a lot of fun.
But, right, exactly.
I remember this when I
always-
was in training.
Exactly. You're like, oh, great, thanks a lot, Mike. But yeah, they're intended to be fun.
Yeah.
And like a real important moral with the rec therapy is if you're a uniformed service professional and you're having a little bit of a hard time, chances are one of the first things to go out the window is anything fun that you used to like to do. So you're probably not playing as much golf, if at all. You're not tying flies, anymore for fly fishing. And there tends to be this idea that, I'm just going to wait until I feel better and then I'll get back on the golf course. And sadly, it doesn't really work in that direction.
Yeah.
The direction it works is you have to move first. The body will move and then everything else catches up. So that means if you want to start playing golf again, you should get out there and hit some golf balls, whether you enjoy it in the moment or not. It's kind of fake it till you make it is like a real thing. Right. Part of that is with the recreation therapy, we get our folks out hiking. I happen to be like an amateur bird enthusiast.
More than amateur.
I was going to say more than
actually,
amateur.
Technically, I'm getting paid for that now, so I guess I'm a
you're a
professional.
bird watcher.
Right,
Yeah.
so wonderful. So we'll take our clients out looking for birds. We have binoculars that Vortex Optics donated to the program, one of our donors. We do some fishing in the summertime. There's a lot of different things we do.
So you're teaching them another way to shut off that stress response.
For sure.
Yeah,
And
to
I
like
might
to
even describe it differently as saying you're replacing that with you. If they're in the moment looking at birds and trying to find something, or if they're in the moment tying a fly or in the moment fishing, they're not in their head thinking about how bad they feel.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that actually brings us to like a good point I'd like to make is we're a mindfulness-based program, and when you take a look at our website, frontlinefoundations.org, brand new website launching very soon, you'll see that we're a mindfulness-based program, and there's a lot of misconceptions about what mindfulness is and what it isn't. Mindfulness is exactly as you just described it, Mike. Mindfulness is it's a skill, and it's the skill of you putting your attention where you want it, which is on tying the fly, on looking for birds, on the conversation with your family at the dinner table, instead of on, my boss sent me an email about, bring a cardboard box to my office first thing on Monday morning, and then you're stewing about that, or any of the difficult things you might have experienced on the job. It's not that those things aren't worthy of your thoughts and emotions. It's just that if you're going to have family time, I want you to have the skills to have your attention on your family, and that's simply put all mindfulness is.
Yeah. And it's sort of that same idea about moving. If you're moving in your mind, if you're thinking good things, because it's hard not to think good things when you're fishing and doing stuff like that.
Sure.
Maybe you get more in the habit of doing that. Yeah.
Sure. Everybody today, when you're driving around, notice how many red Subarus there are. And that's just, you will notice that today.
I will notice that now. You've
Wow, it's
done
a
it.
red Subaru.
I will
and
notice
it's
that as opposed to the person in front of me like braking quickly and not.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Great
yeah.
example. But like what is in your mind, what your intentions are, and what your mindset is hugely important. And that's just a little silly exercise. It could be anything, a blue van. You will notice how many of those there are because that's your intention. Now imagine what we could do if our intention was to be present and available for my family and for the things and the people that I care about most. That's what our program's about.
Right. And it's not an easy thing. I mean, you say it like, I'm going to be present for my family.
That
but
being said,
it's like I work at that. It's really difficult. And I empathize. I
Easier
guess.
said than done.
It's
something
way
I
easier
say.
said. Yeah. And so
every
that's why.
day. Yeah.
So what are the nuts and bolts of how your program works? Like how do they reach out to you? How long is it? It's in person, correct?
Right,
You know,
yep.
all those type things.
Yeah, so we run a 2-week resiliency program. It's Monday through Friday, about 8:30 to 3. People can go to the website or give our main number a call, 802-732-0500. 2518. Thank you. Excellent. And talk to Karen, who's our office manager and one of our counselors. She'll kind of do a quick screening, make sure they're calling the right place, and then she usually hands them off to me. And I talk on the phone usually for 10 or 20 minutes, just kind of get a quick snapshot of who I'm talking to and what they're looking for and if we're a good match. And then we set up a start date, and people usually start on a Monday, Tuesday, or a Wednesday. We see 2 weeks as the foundation, and sometimes people stay for longer. That's great when they're able to do that. What else am I missing there?
And you take people from like all over, right?
Yeah, we do.
That's an important point.
Primarily New England, just because that's where our base is. But yeah, we have people who come from all up and down the eastern seaboard, from Florida up. And we have a good relationship also with some departments out more in the west. But yeah, anybody who works in those jobs can come.
And is this something that insurance would cover?
Yes, we work with insurance from most major insurance companies, and it is covered by insurance.
Nice.
Maybe something worthy of mention is if a client calls us and this is the right level of care for them, which is sort of a technical term, but if what we have is the right medicine for where they're at in their life at the time, and they can make it here and they have the time and they can either commute or they can secure lodging, then we will not have insurance coverage be a barrier to them coming to our program. That is,
Yeah, you don't exclude people because of
Sure,
that.
that's something that is a real, in my humble opinion, something that's going to have to be addressed in the whole healthcare system.
Yes, I agree.
Because there's a lot wrong with that. So insurance is not a barrier. If everything else lines up and you could benefit from our program, we would welcome you.
Great.
And that's part
Very
of our
good.
mission too.
Yeah.
Right on.
So
Yes.
on that note, would that mean that you would accept donations towards your program for like do you have that? Is that eventually what like almost like scholarships? Is that kind of what you're getting at? Is that
Yeah.
or sponsorships like from civic organizations, or just is that? Am I on the right track here? Or-
You
okay.
are, yeah. We don't
Okay.
have a specific kind of scholarship program set up yet. That's on our medium range plan. But absolutely, we do accept donations. They go through the website, and that's how we help meet some of that
Nice,
need.
nice.
Absolutely.
Because it is good to point out to people that you guys only been here for a little over a year, so and you came in right in the middle of COVID.
Yes,
So,
we did.
so you've come a long way.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And-
And it's in person. It's not on Zoom or it's not on
Right.
Microsoft Teams or any of those things. It's
Correct.
you're there and you're going to see real people and it's
Yeah.
going to be a real program.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for emphasizing that, because that's a real, like, if you're already not sure that this is the right time in your life to start addressing some of these things, it's like you're not going to do it on Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or
So-
Teams. I've done Microsoft
Yeah.
Teams right for a class, and it's
Yeah.
just awful. Anyway, we're down to under 2 minutes, so we're down to about a minute and a half. So
Tell us about your new website.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, right now, our as we
was a good segue.
as we speak, our media officer happens to be my lovely bride, is porting our website over to the new platform. So we will be launching the new website. The URL will remain the same, frontlinefoundations.org, but it's a little more user friendly and tells you a little bit more about what we do. And
Great.
we're told that takes some days for this process to
Oh,
be
really?
completed on different platforms, but.
I hear it's a supply chain issue.
It's, yeah,
That's
that's
what I
right.
heard, too.
Thank you.
Mike's been waiting to say
Supply
that
chain
the whole time.
issue. Had that right in the
Sorry.
back pocket.
He did. He was just
Great.
waiting. Had to throw it out there.
Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed it. I hope you'll come back and talk a little bit more about the program. Maybe we can do
Love to.
some video, and show some of the activities. I'm sure we could, protect the people that are in the program who
Sure.
wanted to be protected. But I think it's fascinating that you go out and you do these things that are really just unique and special and are obviously the things to do, but you wouldn't think of it at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then Michael is going to come back and play flamingo guitar
That's right.
at some point, but he hasn't set a specific date.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Oh, yeah. Marty Castanets. For the flamingo guitar.
Oh, I was like,
Castanets.
I thought you said castanets, so I
Oh,
was like,
cast
oh,
your net.
there
That's
we
a
go.
that's a whole
Okay.
other discussion.
Okay.
Anyway,
Is that like an actual nylon guitar back there?
Yes.
It looks like one. Oh my God.
look at that.
All right.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome for coming on the feed.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks, Bellows Falls, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, Camille.
Bye.